Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RedX podcast, the best place for real estate professionals to learn from some of the best agents and coaches in the industry. My name is Haley, and I'm super excited for today's guest. We've got Joe Rosen with us. I know a lot of people have seen you before, Joe, so welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. You're going to be sharing your expertise on setting goals, motivation, and some discipline. So bunch of valuable information coming your way today, everyone. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be here. We were just talking right before we came in. I've been blessed enough to be invited on here 3 times now. So I feel like family with you guys. I appreciate it.
This is awesome. You always bring a lot of valuable information for agents. So we love having you on. And I'm sure our audience also loves seeing you. So, but before we get going, I do have a few items of business for the audience. As always, this is a participatory event. We want you to ask your questions and get all your questions on Joe's Facebook page, things like that. If you have questions, please chat them in and we'll do our best to get them answered today. Another thing is next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So we will obviously not be having a podcast next Thursday, but we will on Friday, Black Friday at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So I have a feeling you'll want to watch it. We're mentioning some information about our RedX Cyber Monday sale. So be sure to jump in on that one. Okay, so I think that's it. Let's get started, Joe. But before we jump into the meat of the discussion today, let's just get a brief introduction about you, some people that haven't seen you, where you're from, and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Minnesota, and I sold real estate in Minnesota for about 5-6 years. I was a top 2% agent, but I was lacking discipline. I was a hard charger. I was a talker. I was a worker. But I'd go hard for 4 days and then I'd take a week off, right? So I didn't have a lot of discipline. But I knew it. I was self-aware enough to where I knew it. And so I was really attracted to the Army. So I joined the Army, put 10 years in the Army, had a great time while I was in the military. And that with marriage and becoming a dad and getting a little bit older, just naturally that discipline comes, right? So it was about 8.5 years into my 10-year career. I decided I'm getting out, man. I miss business. I miss real estate. I miss people. So I got to get back into it. So I built a monster plan, started marketing my butt off, and got down here, hit the ground running. I've been down here 16 months. We've built a great team. We built a big alliance here on the Treasure Coast down here in Florida, and we're just crushing it. I'm about ready to finish up my first full year, and I think we're scheduled to do about 8.1 million this year. So that's what, when I say we, that's my wife is my team manager here. So she does a lot of helping behind the scenes too. So that's pretty doggone good first year.
I would say, yeah, for sure. And so I'm excited to talk about kind of what has led to your success. But thank you so much for your service as well. And let's get into this. So I want to talk about setting goals, obviously, because 2021 is approaching quickly. Even with everything that's gone on in 2020, I feel like it's even catching me off guard with the new year coming. And a big thing with New Year's is obviously resolutions and yearly goals and quarterly goals and all of that stuff. So that's kind of where I want to start and ask you, why is setting goals so important? And why do goals matter?
Sure. So I'll back it up a little bit and I'll give you, I do a lot of coaching. I've got a group on Facebook called the 7-Eleven Accountability Group. I come on there every Monday through Friday live at 7:11 a.m. And I give you something, maybe it's tangible, maybe it's mindset, something to get better as an agent, right? But I do get the question every once in a while, like, Joe, you've got all this energy. You're so motivated. I don't get how you do it. You're so positive. Where does that come from? Yeah. And I've really tried to dig into the psychology behind it, right? Like, where does it come from? Is that just natural? Is there something there? Are there habits that I've gotten into? And I really think when you've got a reason, a goal, a purpose, your why, and it is huge, it is way bigger than anybody else's. It's bigger than something maybe I think I can even do realistically. It's hard when that alarm goes off in the morning not to pop out of bed and get excited, man, because I know every minute I'm on the clock. I've got big things going, and the slower I move, the tougher it's going to be to reach those monster goals. So when I have that, it makes it so rewarding for me. If I didn't have big goals like that, I'd probably, with all this positivity, eventually it would probably slowly die out a little bit too. So I think that building goals into your life, it just serves such a big purpose. And I'm always so aware too. You Gary Vaynerchuk fan? You know who he is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I love Gary Vaynerchuk, and he says it all the time, man. It sounds dark, but it's not. You're on the road to death. We're all going to die soon. So, man, get it. Like, get out there and get it. And every day counts. And you don't know how many days you've got. I might have a week. I might have a month. I might live until I'm 100. I have no clue. And honestly, that's what makes it so doggone exciting. But because I only live once, I got to accomplish some things. So I'm building those goals. That's what drives me.
That's awesome. So I'm hearing a really, really strong why kind of just makes everything else fall into place and helps you get up in the morning. We follow you on Instagram, and you're always posting when you're going out for a run and your routine and things like that. And it's inspiring to others. And so it's interesting to understand the reason behind that is your why. And that's how you get up every morning. So tell us more about that. What is your why, and how can others like figure that out for themselves?
Yeah. So with the why, I have taken a lot of time to construct what my why is. Because when you first dig into it, I remember when I dug into it at first, it was back when I first started real estate in Minnesota. And I read it somewhere. I don't remember where it was. And I thought, what the heck is my why? And I remember trying to be as honest as I could with myself. I was like, well, dude, I want to be rich, and I want a boat, and I want a good looking wife, and I want a big house, and all the materialistic things. But I was a kid, so, it made sense. But I thought, there's got to be more to it. Like, why do I want the boat? Why do I want the wife? Why do I want the house? What's the why behind that? And if you keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper, that's when you really get somewhere. And this is not a question. I tell people this is not a question you can answer instantly. It might take you some time. You might not know for weeks or months what your why is. And it changes. It changes too. So for me, I think there's two whys. There's a positive why that I'm chasing, and there's a negative why that's probably running after me, right? And honestly, I think the negative why, and this is probably true for a lot of people, but it's probably a little more uncomfortable to talk about. I think that negative why that's chasing people probably carries a lot more weight than the positive why. The positive why is fun, it's exciting, but when that runs out, man, that negative why is chomping at the heels. It's coming after you. So for the positive why, I've got two little girls. I got a beautiful wife. I'm in love with my family. And for me, probably because of the military, I was a platoon sergeant. So you get your Joes, right? You get your folks, you get your soldiers, and you want to take care of them. You can beat the crap out of them and make them do push-ups and give them a hard time. But nobody else touches your guys. You leave my guys alone. And you want to see them grow, and you want to see amazing things out of them, right?
Yeah.
So when I sat down with those guys and looked at what they could be down the road, what they could achieve, what they could accomplish, what they did was so much more rewarding as a leader for me than it was when I did it. When I got promoted, cool. When they got promoted, we're throwing a party, baby. We're getting this kind of war. There's a big deal. It feels different, right? Totally. So for me, I'm addicted to that. So I want to come out of the Army and do something really similar in real estate. I want to get people into real estate. I want to help them through coaching. I want to help them through our team. I want to help them through our downline and our alliance. And I want to get them wherever the heck it is they want to be. If that's a team guy, great. If you want to start your own team, get it. I don't care what you want to do. But man, I'd love to be a big old part of you growing and getting bigger, right? So for me, a big part of me measuring my success is how much am I contributing to others? How much better am I making other people's lives? That's huge for me. And I even go so far as to make it measurable, right? So that's my positive why. That's exciting. That wakes me up every morning, right? The negative why is I remember in the military being deployed. Now, I like stuff like this. I like going out on combat operations. All like that's good stuff. That's fun. So if you're in the military and you don't want to do that stuff, why the heck are you in the military? That's what everybody wants to do, right? Let's go get some action. Let's take a risk. Yeah. But once we got little girls, man, I fell in love with those little girls. And when you're stateside, you don't really think about it because it's kind of like a normal job. It's not really that big of a deal, right? You do a few more push-ups than most people. But when you get deployed and you're gone for 9 to 12 months at a time, and sometimes because of the position you're in, you're not able to talk to your kids, or if you can, you only get 2-3 minutes. It makes it challenging. And I literally remember where I was, the phone call, the situation, everything. When my wife called, I called her, because you call her, you get a phone and you're in a long line and there's guys behind you waiting, and you get whatever it is, say it's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I remember that I knew I had about 30 seconds left and my little girl was bawling her eyes out. And I wanted so bad to console her and tell her, like, hey, it's going to be okay. And this is how this works. And I couldn't. I had to just, under her crying, right?
Yeah.
She didn't even hear what I was saying. I had to tell her things that she wasn't even hearing what I was saying. And eventually I had to cut that conversation off. That was pretty dang tough.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I think 10 years is plenty. That's how long I was contracted out for. So I just said, I think I've had enough. I think I've served my time. And I remember saying, like, I will never work for anyone again who dictates where I invest my time. And I want to make absolute sure that no matter where I am or what I do, I'm getting a little bit of time with my girls every single day. They mean the world to me, man. I mean, it doesn't matter how successful you are. I'd rather be homeless under a bridge with my family than away from them making millions, man. I love my girls. So for me, that scary why of, like, I have to succeed, and I have to succeed big time, because you don't know if 2008's come again. You don't know if you're going to get sick. You don't know, like, you don't know. So I need to get so doggone successful that it's going to take a big old problem to set me back. So for me, I've got that scary why chomping at my heels, and I'm trying to sprint away from that too. So you've always got a couple different things in the back of your mind. The big thing is, are you aware of them, cognizant of them, and are you letting those motivate you? Or is it something subconscious that you're not focused on? So sometimes you're really scared and you don't know why, and sometimes you're really motivated and you don't know why. If you can't control it, it makes it really challenging. But if you're aware and you know what's going on, man, that's helpful.
So, and thank you so much for sharing that. That touched me as someone who loves my family as well, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that in their kids and their families. And I think that's a big reason for a lot of people to go into real estate, to be able to be their own boss and have their own schedule and things like that. And so I'm wondering, because you wake up every day and the monotony of everything, how do you always remember that? I know your family's with you and things like that, but how do you have something visual that you can look at, or what do you do to remember all of these things?
Yeah, so I've got a note, literally. So this is my desk, right? And it's like I'm on the left side of my desk here. On the right side of my desk, I've got a little notebook. It's just a simple notebook. Probably cost me 99 cents. It says Goals, Joe Rosen. And in there, every single day, I've got written down my big 7 goals. And it's got my why at the top. And every single day, I write all of them by hand, and I say them out loud as I write them. Because I know I'll forget. And I'm engaged. And even an engaged guy like me is going to forget. But if I do that every single morning, and I write it, and I say it out loud, and it's next to me. So even seeing the blue cover of that notebook puts that thought into my head. It's not that you never forget about it, but you sure as heck forget about it a lot less.
Yeah. Wow. And just writing it every single day, I'm sure
Every day
just puts it in your brain and go. And so I'm assuming you do that like first thing before you get started in your day.
I go to the gym, and when I get back from the gym, that's the first thing I do right before I start that 7:11 a.m. video.
Awesome. Amazing. Yeah. Well, cool. So you have a strong why. You know why you're in real estate, or you know why you're doing what you're doing. Tell me the steps that you take to start setting goals, and how you know what goals you should set. That's kind of a big question, but
yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I'll tell you, I stole a lot of what I do from the training I had in the Army as a leader. So in the Army, you've got what's called a monthly counseling, right? And the leader, and it doesn't matter, because no matter how big up you are, to include generals, you've got a leader. And so I always had to sit down as the leader with all my guys. My leaders had to sit down with me, and you give them a monthly counseling. And the whole purpose is, hey, let's kind of recap what you did over the last 30 days. Let's look at what your goals were. Did you reach those goals? Did you not reach those goals? What's the plan for next month? And you just kind of keep progressing forward, right? Yeah. For those people who are not motivated, it puts in writing some plan. Maybe it was my plan because they weren't even motivated enough to build it, but it puts a plan on paper. And when they don't meet that plan, it makes it really easy to choose who gets promoted, who doesn't get promoted, who moves on over great things, right? But I stole that and used that in my current team. So instead of calling it a boring monthly counseling, sorry, Army, we changed it to a fire meeting, man, because when we get into that meeting, that is where we light the fire for the next 30 days.
Oh, I like that.
You better come to that meeting with that intent, man, because we're here to build something big. So the first month you're with me, that fire meeting is literally just building out a plan. And the majority of the time, they don't really know what it is they want to do. So it's 90% me. But I really do. I think it's absolutely critical. If you've got a mentor, a leader involved, a coach, whatever it is, they should be nudging you in a path, right?
Yeah.
And they should be giving you feedback. But really, those goals need to be yours. Because if those goals are mine as your leader or your coach or whatever, you're not going to buy into them. And if you didn't buy into them and you don't have a passion behind them, the odds that you reach those goals, they're certainly not zero, but they're a heck of a lot less, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big, big deal that those are at least partially their goals. Try to get them to buy into them. Yeah. But after that first month, when we meet on month 2 and beyond, it's saying, okay, you had goals. The goal better be objective, all right? So we're not going to put on there, I want to sell a bunch of homes. That's subjective. Tell me I want to sell 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is, houses. Okay, cool. That's very objective. So if you said 30 and you sold 29, you lose. You did not meet your goal. 30, you got it, right? It's black and white. Everything should have a deadline. If you've got a big old goal that takes 6 months, too bad. We meet every 30 days. So you better break that 6-month goal down into a 30-day goal, right? A smaller 30-day reachable goal so that we're making so, because otherwise what happens if you don't break that down, right? 6 months comes by, I didn't make that goal, and you can justify emotionally, well, that was a big goal. It's kind of tough to reach, that's why I didn't do it. But if we can break it into smaller goals, I can say, BS, get that goal. All you gotta do is do this much this month, this much next month, boom, 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 boom. You add it up times 6, boom, you got your big old goal, right? It's that easy.
Right.
So we try to really focus on breaking all that down into 30-day reachable, realistic goals. And then with every goal, you've got a plan. Okay. So you can't just say, I want to sell, let's use an easier number, man, 36 houses, right? Okay. That's 3 a month. Okay, cool. Great. You can't just say that. And that's what every realtor does. But that's super fun. That's cool. But if you fail, how do I push you to that next level if you didn't have a plan? Let's build the plan. What are the objective things you're going to do? How many calls are you going to make? How many doors are you going to knock on? How many open houses? How many DMs are you sending? How many Facebook posts are you putting out? How many YouTube channels you starting? How many networking meetings you go into? Like all those things, you better have it down to a number. Again, with the deadline. And if it's too big, make it smaller so you can fit it into 30 days. Have that plan. Now, when 30 days comes, if you didn't meet the goal, I can ask you the simple question. Was it you or was it the plan? If it was you, let's work on you. Let's talk about time management. Let's talk about motivation. Let's talk about inspiration. Let's talk about goals. Let's talk about accountability. Let's talk about different things we can do with you. If it was the plan and you did the plan, well, then the plan just sucked. Let's build another plan, man. That's too easy. So now you can focus on which one of those things really is the problem. But if you're not writing down a plan and you're just saying, I hope and I dream and I wish and I pray I sell 3 houses this month, it's going to be really challenging to improve when you don't reach that goal after 30 days. So that's how
I like it. And especially with the new year coming up, I'm sure people will start setting yearly goals and like 6-month goals. But I like how you get it even down to the day. Like, what am I doing every day to accomplish this 30-day goal? And then that will contribute to my monthly, yearly stuff like that. Yeah. So it gets really specific.
Yes. Yeah, big time. In fact, I've got a whiteboard right in front of me on that wall. And it's got literally every single Saturday, because I work Monday through Saturday, right? So on Saturdays, I will look at my long-term goals and my focuses, and I'll say, okay, what needs to happen this week for me to crush it, for me to say, yes, you win. You won this week. And I'm not focused on sales or pendings or listings. Those will come from the plan. I'm focused on what I control, right? How many calls am I making? How many doors am I knocking on? How many videos? Did my weekly email go out? Am I making videos for my builder? Did I do that training I wanted? All those things, and I go check those boxes all day long, man. And I'm addicted to checking those boxes. But you know why I'm addicted? It's because they're staring at me literally 7 feet away from me on a wall, man. So sometimes you got to put it on a piece of paper, a whiteboard, whatever it is. Get it in front of you. Make it a game. I've got check boxes by them. It's a game. I want to check those boxes, man. But you got to get it in front of you. If it's not in front of you, it's not that you're going to fail. It's that by getting it in front of you, it certainly increases your chances.
Yeah. And I also like that if you don't accomplish your goals, you can find out exactly what happened. Like you said, like focusing on yourself or the plan, or maybe you didn't do this part or that part. So then you know exactly, okay, then I'll fix that exact little nugget and hopefully achieve my goals next month, right?
Yeah, just fail forward, right? If you're failing, it's okay. But if the problem isn't you and it's the plan, you just build another plan. It's a piece of cake. And same with the problem's you. Now, if the problem's you multiple times, that's a big problem. But we all hit little hurdles, right? And sometimes you need, and that's kind of the reason if you've got a coach or a team leader, something like that, that's their purpose, right? They should be driving you, pushing you, guiding you, giving that inspiration. If you don't have it, they should be calling you at 7 a.m. saying, get out of bed, buddy, let's do it. But you need that person. You need that accountability. But heck yeah. But you got to know yourself, right?
Right.
So some of us need it, some of us don't. But even me, there's some days where I call my buddy, Alex Hagg, and I say, listen, I don't know why, but I'm not feeling it. For the next week, I want you to call me every morning. It's 5:30, and we're going to have a little conversation for 5 minutes about what we're going to do to crush today. And that's all it takes, man. 5 minutes on the phone with my buddy, Alex. Boom, I'm locked in. Mindset is made.
That's awesome. A question just came in from Carol on Facebook, and you answered a little bit. She asked, how do you stay motivated? And we've talked about having a strong why, and then you just mentioned accountability and things like that. What else would you tell the Carol? Like, how do you stay motivated?
Sure. So I think there's a big difference between motivation and discipline, right? Discipline you need to do whether you're motivated or not. So I tell in that 7-Eleven group, I get a lot of agents saying, Joe, I'm just not feeling it today. It doesn't matter. Go not feel it at your desk while you're making calls.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you're only making 80, 90% of the calls you should be making, but that's way more than you'd be making if you sat at home and talked about, oh my gosh, man, my day sucks. My life's like, go sulk at your desk. If I can't get you out of sulking, at least I can get you out of bed, right? But then you've got motivation. With motivation, I force big people into my mind, right? Surround yourself with amazing people. Everybody knows what that is. And that's so true. You find the people you're comfortable with. Sometimes it's family that makes it tough, but you need to surround yourself with people who are bigger and better than you, people who hold you to a higher standard and expect more out of you if you want to be bigger and better. If you want to be comfortable, then keep hanging out with your comfortable friends and your comfortable family and your comfortable whoever. But if you want to be big and you want to be better, you better hang around people who are forcing you to be bigger and better. And I'd also add, you've got, like for me, right? I work out 45 minutes every morning. I've got shower time and brushing my teeth time and all that. There's another 15 minutes. All that time, I mean, it's kind of thoughtless time. I know how to work out. I know how to take a shower. Don't got to put a lot of thought into that. So I'm going to get Tony Robbins or Jim Rohn or Les Brown going on my phone in my ears, pumping all those magical words into my brain, man. So as I go throughout my day, I can't help but think these things. All right. So a lot of people are watching CNN or Fox and the world's ending and politics and everything's a problem and we're all going to die. Listen, if I watch that crap all day, that's the way I'm going to be thinking in about 2-3 days too. But if I'm pumping Tony Robbins and Les Brown into my mind, I can't help but be fired up for my life.
I like that. You're in control of your environment. Yeah. So fill it with things that are going to help you. I think like watching the news and things like that always makes me super anxious. And especially with like pandemic and election and everything, you can get so in your head about just things that don't matter day to day and what you're doing today in your job to make more money, to help support your family, all that stuff. So it's very, I like that, just making your environment positive, because that's what we can control.
Yes. And own it. I've told so many people before, the Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn thing, and they say, that's a great idea. And then I talk to them 3 months later, and they're like, I'm still in a slump. And I'm like, are you doing the Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn thing when you're working out, when you're showering? Oh, you know what? No, I didn't do it. There is a ton of great information out there that's really simple. It's not that difficult to execute. It's the executing. It's writing it down and actually doing it that a lot of people don't do. Nothing I'm saying or anybody else on your podcast probably says anything all that monumental. It's all basic. It's easy stuff. It's doing it, man. That is the difference maker between the studs and everybody else.
And that's the thing with this podcast is we have one every week where we have awesome people like you come and try to motivate agents to do something with their businesses or do something that's going to matter and be important. But it doesn't matter at all if they don't leave this podcast and do something about it. If they just watch it and then turn it off and then go about their daily lives like nothing ever happened, then it was all for naught and they just wasted their time.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Thanks so much for sharing that. So I want to talk about a little bit more for, so you mentioned motivation versus discipline. How do you become so disciplined? Because we talked about how you get motivated and things like that, but and want to get up in the morning, but being disciplined sounds hard, honestly. We all have hard days. We all get in slumps, like you said. So how do you keep doing the things that you don't want to do? Or how do you keep doing things when you don't want to do them, I guess?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a couple things. Number one, you got your why, right?
Yes.
You got your positive why, your negative why. But again, I can tell you that, and people can nod their head up and down.
Right.
You're not going to be successful with this unless you literally go in a closet, shut the lights off, sit down and think, what is it that motivates me? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What am I either fearful of or what am I chasing? And unless you take the time to think about that, you're not going to get a strong enough why to push you. You have to put that time in, right? I also would suggest the book. I think it's called Atomic Habits. It's amazing. And it gets really detailed into the scientific backings of what it takes to actually build strong habits, right? So to give you little tips, little tricks, I'm making this up because I don't remember the exact term, but I think it was called habit linking, just as an example, right? And I stole it from that book. And it was, hey, if you want to get something done and you're continuously not getting it done, link it to an event that you know you're going to do. So if you want to do 20 follow-up calls every single day, and you know you eat lunch every day, then just say, guess what I'm not doing until I make my 20 calls? Eating lunch. So now you link it to eating lunch. You can't eat lunch until you get that done. Guess what I want to do? I want to eat some lunch, man. So I need to make those 20 calls. So you can habit link. Now it's got all kinds of great stuff like that. But really, that is the big thing for me. And then the other really helpful thing for me is anything I'm adding, a habit, right? A new thing that I'm doing, I turn it into, like, it's not just a thing I'm doing. It is a flippin' event. It is a big deal. So whatever it is, if it's, I'm trying to think of something that's not seemingly a big deal. Okay. Let's say I don't, I got a good one. Let's say I'm going to do a specific URL for all of my listings, right? And I'm going to market that. But I've never done that before. This is something new that I'm adding to my tool belt. I'm not just going to say, okay, cool. I'm going to start giving you your landing page, and this is so cool, and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make it an event. And it's for me. It's to get me excited about it. Because if I'm more excited about it, and I add all the tools that I got from the Atomic Habits, now it's really going to pull, right? It's really going to stick. So for me, I'm going to say, woo, we're going to sell some houses. And I know, Joe, this is me talking to me, how I'm going to get these houses sold. We're going to have this new idea where I'm going to take a URL specific to a property, and and then you get into the plan, whatever the plan is, right? I'm going to put it on Facebook. I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to do this. I'm going to share it with these people. I'm going to get a flyer, and I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to have it all written out, and I'm going to post it somewhere on a wall, and I'm going to get excited about it. And it's all I'm going to talk about for the next 2-3 weeks. Joe, how's life? Man, it's great. Let me tell you about this new thing I got going on where I'm getting a specific landing page for every but you buy into it. If you buy into it, now when you wake up at 5:30 a.m. and that alarm goes off, I'm thinking, oh man, it's landing page for every listing I've got day. This is a huge event. This is monstrous. I pop out of bed. I get to the gym. While I'm at the gym, I got Tony Robbins in my mind. And I'm just like, oh yeah, landing pages. I'm excited, right? Then I get back and I turn Jim Rohn on. I'm showering. I'm like, whoo, these landing pages. I can't wait to build those flyers. I'm going to get that on YouTube. I don't wash my hair. And it's going to be great, man. And that's all I'm thinking about. And it starts to take over your mind. And now it's not, how do I instill this habit? It's, holy crap, honey, you're bugging the crap out of me because all you'll talk about are these doggone landing pages. Like, become obsessed with it. Get it.
It just sounds like a mindset shift, really. Is instead of like prospecting, for example, I talk to agents all the time who don't want to prospect. But if you gotten the idea of what prospecting could do for your business, you'd be pumped about it too. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to get me more listings. This is going to help me support my family. This is awesome. Let's get excited about it. This is great. So actually a question just came in from Jay about kind of this, what we're talking about. He said, how do I create a mindset for getting/attracting and working with sellers? I have just signed up for expireds and FSBOs. So how do I keep going to be a listing machine? So in short, how do I get into a listing mindset?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, when I look at newer agents or agents who maybe been in for a while, but they really haven't been strong listing agents, I think the biggest thing is confidence. If you walk in and you know I've got 7 little bullets that I'm going to pitch, and here's my 7 bullets, and do you want to list with me? That's a lot different than, like, dude, when I walk in, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know they're going to want to ask me what my commission is and what the price is. That's the first thing they want. And I know that's the last 2 things we're going to talk about. So when they say it, I already know what my response is going to be. I already know we're going to tour the home first, and it's going to take me about 8-10 minutes. I already know what I'm going to say when I see something cool on their walls and the conversation we're going to have, so I can build rapport. And I'm going to be taking notes, massive notes. So when I start talking about what their home is worth, and they're like, well, it should be worth this. Why? Well, that's because your roof is 17 years old. You told me that earlier when we were talking. So I'm taking massive, but I know, and I've gone through this so many times. And if you're new and you're like, well, cool, dude, but you've been doing this for a while, I haven't done this at all. Fake it, man. And you can fake it a million different ways. You can find someone that you know and trust who's experienced and confident, and maybe you need a team leader or a coach or whoever to do this, and you can role play with them, right? Grab your wife, grab your husband and say, hey, I want you to be the worst seller you can be. Just be I don't know if I can swear on here. Just be super mean to me. And don't let me get away with anything, man. Try to beat me up on price, beat me up on commission. Tell me you only want a 1-month listing. Tell me that you can go list it yourself as a FSBO and you got a sister who's a realtor. Like, just give them all the worst things to say and just practice it, man. And a lot of people kind of roll their eyes or they nod and say, great idea, and never execute, just like everything else.
Yep.
But if you do it, I'm telling you, every stud you've ever seen has role played their butt off. All of them. They all sucked at some point, just like you suck. And if you do it a whole bunch, you're going to be good at it, just like they're good at it. And that's exactly how they got there. They got the reps, right? I think that's the great thing about RedX is, honestly, dude, forget all the icing on the cake. Forget all the listings, forget all the sales, forget all the buyers. That's going to come. But even if it doesn't, you are getting rep after rep after rep after rep after rep of conversations with potential buyers and sellers, all the objections in the world, and it's live, man. What better training could you possibly get? Oh, by the way, you're going to do a ton of business from it. So I can't say enough. But by the way, RedX is not paying me to say that. I just genuinely think RedX is amazing, man. And I know a lot of people hate making cold calls. It's got such a bad reputation. But I'm telling you, if you love real estate, if you love figuring out how to have better relationships with people, how to have better conversations, how to be smoother, how to get into a cadence with your voice, right? All of those tone pitches. And when you slow it down and use a more calm voice, and when you need to pick it up and get excited, you're going to learn that through massive reps with someone like RedX. So I think, sales aside, it is one of the most phenomenal products I've seen out there.
Oh, thank you so much for the pitch. Like, yeah, we did not pay him to say that, but thank you so much. I agree with you. It sounds a lot like, I don't know if you've ever read the book Rejection Proof, but just go out and get as much rejection as you can. And that is what helps you gain that confidence. And we actually have a role play system for customers. If you call in, you can actually talk to one of our customer support reps, and they'll pretend to be a homeowner, and you can practice your scripts all day, and we'll send you recordings and everything. But it's all about practicing and gaining confidence. So I love that. Thank you. And I've heard also that if you believe in your service, if you believe that you can help others, then the conversation goes a lot easier. If you're like quiet and I could sell your house, I could do it. Instead of like, oh no, like this is what I'm gonna do to sell your house. Like I can help you. This is my service, and really believe in that and buy into that.
You're right. There is such a big difference. And we're all really good at something, and we're all not so good at a lot of things, right? And when you talk about those not so good things, everybody kind of cringes like, ugh. Like you remember back in high school when they're talking about something and like, all right, I need a volunteer. And you're like, dude, I do not know how to do this math, man. Do not pick on me. But when you did know it as a kid, right? Like as a little kid, when you're in high school, you're like, dude, leave me alone. But when you're in like first grade, second grade, third, and you knew the answer, you're like, me, pick me, man. It's like that in a listing. When you know why you're the best and you truly believe it, you walk in there and you're like, oh, I'm going to crush this. I am so fired up to let these people know that they are lucky enough. I mean, you can't be cocky about it, but
right.
I'm the right guy, and I'm fired up to tell them, man, this is going to be great. And when you come in with that enthusiasm and you come in with all those reps that you got, whether they're real or they were practiced with somebody else, they feed off of that, man. And I would challenge you too, if you don't feel that, if you don't feel like you truly are the best, right? Bob's in there, or Sandy, she's a little bit better than me, or that person, they can beat me if they say this. Think at home. Put something on your schedule for 10, 15, 20 minutes a day where all you do is shut off the lights and you think, how do I position myself better as a listing agent? I think Bob's better. Cool. What's Bob doing? Why is he better? How do I beat Bob? What do I do that makes me better than Bob? And forget about all these listing clients and what you look like. Think about you. You know the real truth. What would you really have to do to sell you on you? And whatever that is, get there, man. Like build the plan and get there. So if Bob is really good at handling objections, then doggone it, start getting reps handling objections. If he's got just a better presentation, then work on that presentation, man. If he's really good at product knowledge, then start schooling yourself on products. But really, it's looking at whoever you feel is the best. And if it's not you, start beating that person a little bit every single day.
I like that. A question I've heard pretty often is if I am shy or I'm not as loud or like as confident as other agents, like can I still be successful in real estate? And what it sounds like what you're saying is, of course, you just have to model those that are good at it, because they had to figure that out some way too. They had to learn those things, and so can you. It's all learned behavior, right?
Yeah. And I'd say our good buddy Ricky Caruth, right? He's been doing $1 million a year in commissions. That guy will tell you, I'm an introvert. So I would also say, and I bet he'd agree with me, that some of the best salesmen out there are introverts because they shut up and they listen, right? So a guy like me, I'm loud. I love people. It's a challenge, or at least it used to be, for me to shut up and listen. So sometimes the extrovert, you might think they've got it easier. They can get a party going, but when you're talking about working with a buyer or a seller, that doesn't mean that they're going to win that out, man. It's the person who asks the best questions, listens, and delivers the best answers. That's the person who's going to win. So being an introvert absolutely is not a negative.
Yeah, it sounds like find the strength that you have, and then just build on that.
Avoid it. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we got a question from Amanda Smith, who's a regular here. She said, in trying to set up a system that works for you, how long do you try it out before switching gears? So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So I've got 3 or 4 pillars of prospecting at all times.
Okay.
So when I first started out, it was RedX, right? And then I had my networking group that I started. And then I had social media. It was primarily Facebook, but it was social media. I'll do all those for 6 months. And I've got, let me see if I got one here. I do. I got this little guy right here I made. It's a little tracker, right?
Oh,
And there's 6 colored squares for 6 days, Monday through Saturday. And I've got that sitting next to me every single day. And as I'm doing things, I'm checking those off. I'm putting numbers in there, right? So I know how many calls I made. I know how many conversations. I'll read it because I know that's the next question. Here's what every day has, right? There's about 12 things here. How many calls did I make? How many conversations did I have? For me, a conversation is I said, hey, this is Joe Rosen with EXP. If you said, cool, screw off, and you hung up, that's conversation. I don't care. How many people did I add to my CRM? How many appointments did I schedule? How many seller appointments? How many buyer appointments? How many miscellaneous appointments? How many new listings did I get? How many pending sales? How many closings? How many Facebook posts, Instagram posts, and how many YouTube videos did I publish? Now, those things are built off of the plan that I've got, right? So your plan's going to be a little bit different. You have a different tracker, but you got to have the tracker. If you've got the 3 pillars or the 4 pillars like I'm talking about, and you're not tracking it, at the end of 6 to 12 months, which I think that's the appropriate amount of time to answer that question directly, I think a minimum of 6 months gets you a picture of how those numbers are working out for you. And if you track it, you can see. But here's what happens, man. People don't like making calls because they don't like all that rejection. So I get that. So they'll do that because Joe Rosen told them to, but they hate it. And they'll go do open houses and they love it because it's low rejection and I don't have to be a salesman, but I can still feel like I'm working, right? Yeah. And they'll get 1 sale off the open house. They'll get 5 off the cold calls. And then at the end of 6 months, if I were to say to them without a tracker, what's working for you, what's not working? There's a good chance they're going to say, cold calls suck. It's not working. Let's get it out of there. Open houses are rocking it. And they're going to say that because emotionally, that's what they're leaning towards, right? That's what makes them comfortable. But if you track it, your emotions don't matter. Facts matter, numbers matter. And when you look at that, you're going to say, this is what's making me the money. This is what isn't making me the money. So when I've got those 3, 4 pillars, I'm going to look at whatever worked the least over 6 months. Yeah. I'm going to get rid of it no matter what. And I'm going to put a new 4th pillar in there, something trendy, something fun, something I've been staring at for a while, whatever it is. And a lot of people would say, why would you get rid of that 4th thing if it's working, even if it's working a little bit less than the other 3? Yeah. And the reason is because there's always going to be something that you need to do to progress, right? If I did now what worked 25 years ago, I'd absolutely fail. There's no way I'd be successful. So you had to find the new thing or you're out of luck. You're out of business. For that reason, I'm willing to take a risk that 4th thing that's kind of working, I might lose a little bit of business to pick up whatever, TikTok, and maybe TikTok just sucks and I can't do anything on TikTok, which I probably can't. Well, then at least I tried. Because eventually you're going to find that thing that does work and you're going to be the first one there because you have a system built around being trendy, being on it, trying it. And it's only 25% of what you're doing, man. So it's really worth it. And you've still got the best 1, 2, or 3 things. So you're not even losing 25%, right? You're probably losing 5 or 10% because the number 1 and number 2 are your big things. So for me, 6 to 12 months, but you got to track. If you're not tracking, it doesn't matter how long it is. You've got to track it. You've got to see where your money's coming from. And then that's exactly how I do that.
I love that. I love that you also said that it does take time. 6 to 12 months. That's a long time to try something, but that is the only way that you'll know if it works or not. Because a lot of people get into prospecting, for example, they try it for a couple weeks. They get angry because they're getting rejected or numbers aren't right or whatever. And they're like, out the window, when really that could have been maybe their number 1 or 2 pillar that did the best business for them if they just tried.
I agree 100%. I can't tell you how many times I've heard agents say, cold calling doesn't work. Really? Did you try it? Yep. How many calls did you make? I made like 800 calls. I'm like, dude, I've seen agents make 800 calls in 2 days. Like, what are you talking about 800 calls? Get back on those. You make 10,000 calls, and then you tell me cold calling doesn't work.
I love it. Awesome. Yeah. Well, we're running out of time here, but I do have a final question that I want to ask you. Looking forward to 2021, what is your advice to agents with the new year, resolutions, making yearly goals, things like that? What final advice do you have for people?
So I'll give you two answers. I got to throw a little bit of a pitch in there.
Love it.
We're going to be doing a big mastermind with another good friend of ours, Jay Kinder. He was the number 2 Coldwell Banker agent on the planet. Now he's one of the biggest guys we've got at EXP. We work really closely together. It's going to be him, me, Alex Hagg. And on January 4th, which I believe is the first Monday of the new year, we're going to give that. And if you guys want to sign up, just shoot me a DM on Facebook or something, and we'll get you in there. But we're going to be talking about exactly that. But if I had to give you a couple things, I mean, it's big that you meet people where they're at. And everybody's in a little bit different position. Some people just started. Some people been in a couple years, but they're only selling 3, 4, 5. Some people watching this are probably doing 50, 60, 70 deals a year, right? But I would say this, with everything. I don't care if you're a high school football player, you're a realtor, it doesn't matter. It all comes down to the basics. So I would really impress upon you to get your 3, 4 pillars of prospecting. You shouldn't have less than 3. I personally wouldn't do more than 4. You start to do a poor job with what you've got unless it's automated. If it's automated, that's one thing. Get your tracking down. If you don't have a way to track, then you don't truly, without emotion involved, know what's working and not working for you. You need to have those goals laid out. You need to have somebody who's going to hold you accountable, because I promise you, I don't care who you are, some days you're just not going to have that inspiration and motivation, right? But if you get those couple of things put together and you consistently do it, I'm going to throw out one more book, The Slight Edge.
Yeah.
It's a great book that really impresses upon you that the difference between the stud and whatever you do, right? We're talking real estate. The studs of real estate and everybody else is really, they do a little bit more consistently every day, right? It's not that they're special. It's not that they were born with some super cool skill. It's not genetics. It's literally they suck too, right? When they got in, they sucked too. And now they did the little things every day. They did the role playing. They did going through their whole presentation multiple times. They did all these things, and they did it so much, so often, a little bit every day, that really snowballs into a big, big thing. So yeah, I would say stick to those basics, and those right there are a few of those big basics.
That's perfect. We actually, Amanda, who asked the tracking question, she said, I just created a tracker. So thank you so much for the advice. So there's one who actually took what you said and did something about it.
It's all worth it, right? That's what we do it for. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, we posted all of your links in the chat. We'll also put it below on Joe's podcast page. So if you want to find his Facebook or anything like that to sign up for his coaching or whatever, that will all be below for everyone watching. So Joe, thank you so much for coming back on and talking to us again about all of this stuff. I'm pumped. I'm motivated.
Good.
A lot of people said that your enthusiasm is contagious, and I feel that as well. So thank you so much for coming on and spending 45 minutes with us. This has been awesome. To everyone watching, if you want to continue conversations like this, you can go onto Joe's Facebook and stuff like that. But we also have our own RedX Elite Prospectors Facebook group that Joe's a part of that you can go in and talk to other customers and other agents that are going through the same thing. We also have our customer forum at forum.theredx.com to talk to RedX customers. If you're new to the podcast, you can catch up on past episodes, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, everywhere you want to listen to podcasts. We're there. Just search the RedX podcast and subscribe. And I think that covers everything. Thank you so much again, Joe. And we will see everybody next Friday with Kent Brown. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.